This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.
So this episode was really about the car industry in the UAE and all about marketplaces and e-commerce. Everyone will have had experience with a dealership or the known online portals like Dubizzle, Yalla Motors, Sell Any Car, and Dubicars have really kind of carved out a core business in that space as well. So it's fascinating to hear all about it. And one of the kind of key takeaways I had from it is that how Dubai is becoming an export hub for cars and how it's growing, not just to other businesses around the world, but to consumers directly as well. So it's fascinating talking to Craig. Enjoy the conversation. Welcome back to another episode of Dubai Works Business Podcast. Today we're joined by Craig Stevens, the CEO of Dubicars, one of UAE's most trusted car dealerships. Dubicars have always made it a point to make the vehicle purchasing experience as enjoyable and transparent as possible for the customers. As of late, they've been making it their mission to catalyze the growth through digitalization of their business model. So on the show today, we'll be talking all about Dubicars, the digital transformation in automotive industry, how competitive the market is, and the future plans. Welcome, Craig.
Well, hi, good to meet you.
Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure.
For coming in. So you've branded Dubicars.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an interesting story. Can you tell us how it started?
Yeah, well, it actually started 7 years ago, so before my time. And it started with an entrepreneur who liked Dubai, liked the car market, could see that it was going to be a good used car online market, worked with an investor, set the business up, did very well, got the business moving in the right direction. And then 3 years ago, Michael Lahaney, who owns Property Finder, got very excited about cars as well, and he decided to become the majority shareholder of the business. Then he contacted me and asked me if I'd like to come over and get involved and run the business. I have 20 years experience in doing this across the globe in terms of digitizing automotive buying online. And I could see the opportunity in the Middle East. I came over with my wife and children. We had a good look at the schools and the market and the property and everything else and said, you know what, this is the right time for us to come across and get involved. And haven't looked back. So yeah, we've had 3 years now, and as you say, we're focused on making car buying, car selling enjoyable, easy, transparent for consumers, and we're also making it easy for car dealers to transact online, and that's kind of our main mission for our business.
Interesting. So much to unpack there. I'll start at the beginning in terms of it's a marketplace. It's, you know, were there things before? Is there an equivalent of that? And how did the founder go about building such a company?
Yeah, so I mean, it is a marketplace. So it's about connecting buyers and sellers. And there are different marketplaces available for cars in the UAE, but they don't focus just on cars. So the main one would focus on multiple verticals, and therefore my coffee's just turned up, which is really important. Thank you very much. So they focus on multiple verticals, and therefore they're not specific in the car vertical. And I think if you're really going to win in the car vertical, you have to be specific. You have to go deep into that vertical with data, tools, products, and really understand it inside out. So that was the in. That's where the original founder found the in. And then it was about just building content, right? Because that's what marketplace is about. You're not a marketplace unless you've got great quality content. So we focus very much on making sure the cars are real cars, they're verified cars. We make sure that they're photographed brilliantly. We have a huge operations team that go around with great cameras and take videos and photographs to make sure we have beautiful photographs and videos. We focus on the descriptions to make sure we actually describe the vehicles well. And we focus on the price to make sure the seller's pricing the vehicle correctly so it's attractive to the seller. So when you've got all those things, you've got the right content, and then you have to get the audience. And what we've done well is focus on SEO. Just make sure that we've got really good quality SEO, because 9 times out of 10, when someone's looking to buy a car, they don't actually know what they want. And there's so much choice out there. So being good at SEO when someone's thinking about, I want to buy a new SUV, or I want to go off into the desert, or what's good in the summer for a convertible, making sure you can answer all those questions and bring people back to your content is key.
What's the key to help them through the purchasing decision process?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know the exact number now, but it's something like this: 15,000 different make, models, and variants, right? So there's a lot of there's a lot of choice out there.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes a bit daunting for a consumer to think, well, what kind of car do I want to buy?
Yeah.
And the SUV market over here, I mean, the SUVs now are 65% of total cars sold are SUVs.
Wow.
Yeah. Now you think, 4 or 5 years ago, everyone was saying the cars are going to get smaller and we're going to be driving around in these little tiny boxes with tiny engines. That's not what we're saying. Cars are getting bigger. Yeah. They're getting bigger, and people now see them as a vehicle, literally a vehicle to get out of their house, go into the desert, go down to the beach, go and drive around the countryside. They want a bigger car. And
it's versatile, yeah.
Yeah, that's versatile, that's safe. It's got lots of visibility, nice big windows you can see out of it, and that's definitely what we're seeing in this market.
And so the idea of buying a car online, if we look at it from that point of view, I used to work in marketing, and a lot of the automotive companies would focus on leads, and it was always to get people into the showroom. Do you see how much of the transaction and decision-making process do you see actually happens online? Is the full transaction done online?
No, it's not. And there are companies trying to do the full transaction online, but it's very difficult in this market to do the full transaction. I mean, one of the reasons is 70% of the cars are bought with finance, and actually you still can't get car finance online. You still need this body check where someone comes to meet you, take your Emirates ID and whatever else. So that's a barrier. And then you've still got to register the car, you've got to meet at the RTA, you've got to hand over the relevant documents. There are certain things that are still offline which stop it. I have no doubt, and we are very confident that over the next couple of years, we'll solve those issues and you will be able to transact fully online. But I think you've got to ask the question, how many people really want to transact online when they're buying a car? And I think, if you speak to people, they want to get in the car, they want to smell the car, they want to feel the car, they want to make sure the seat is comfortable, and it's very difficult to replicate all of those things. So I think, dealers are right to still get people to focus on getting to the showroom and visiting them, but they've got to think about how they engage consumers to get them to the showroom. Yeah. It's not just about leads.
Okay, I got it. But in terms of digital as a marketplace and Dubicars as a position, as a website and a product and an app, with e-commerce, you can transact and it can be delivered. With property, you obviously would like to see the property. With the automotive space, what was the thesis behind Dubicars? What problem were you trying to solve, and how did it end up in the way it is?
Yeah, so the problem that we were solving was giving the dealers a good platform in which to put their content. So that was the original thing, right? Because they weren't happy with the existing incumbents in the marketplace, and they wanted a proper online marketplace that enabled them to do video, photographs, and have that as their. So that was the original thesis behind it. We've moved on since then. We're now about how do we enable car dealers to become online retailers. So what other tools do they need so they can trade online? And look, this market is bigger for the export market than it is for the local market. So the export guys do buy online. I mean, they don't fly over to test drive the car from Africa or whatever. And we are now doing that full transaction online. So, it's about how do we make car dealers online retailers, and from a consumer, how do we build trust, transparency through data, great tools, great content to get the consumer, if they want to transact, they can. But even if they don't want to transact fully online, they've got everything they need to feel comfortable to do that.
Yeah.
So when they do get to the dealer, they're very well qualified. They know what they want. They've seen the car. We've now got Spin Car, which enables you to go right the way around the car and see it and zoom in, zoom out. The car dealer now is no longer dealing with a prospect. They're facilitating a deal. And that's what the dealer has to think about, is this person probably knows more about the car than the car dealer does. So just facilitate the deal.
And so you're being fully transparent. You're showing, the service records, like all the information around the car is visible.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the challenges, is how do you bring all of the history of the vehicle to the site. So at the moment you can pay for that, or you can go to the police if it's a GCC car. There are ways you can find the history, but that's not easy, and we're trying to make that easier. So we've now partnered up with a company, which means if you want to go and buy a car, within 24 hours, we literally can inspect the car top to bottom, go through all of the service history, go through all of the insurance history, police records. We just make sure this car is clean. And that's going to cost you about 300 dirhams, but my God, it's 300 dirhams well spent. And within 24 hours, you can make an informed decision about that car.
So Craig, you touched on it, and I'll come back to it later, a lot of digital transformation trends. But, at this stage, 7 years in, there are some things that you've already sort of disrupted and found a place in the market. What was it like originally? A lot of entities and industries would think that they can do the digital part themselves. How did Dubicars successfully build that relationship with the dealers?
Yeah. Patience. You've got to have lots of patience because you're dealing with a very traditional customer base, and that's not being insulting to car dealers. They are very good at what they do, and what they do is they buy bits of metal and they sell bits of metal and they manage big dealerships, and to take them on that digital journey is about time. It is about building proper partnerships. They don't want someone coming in just selling them something. They want someone who's going to help them on that digital journey. It's about investment. We've invested a lot of money in building the right software, enabling our data to be accessed in usable format for dealers so they can start buying and selling with confidence, not just the end consumer. It's about our operations team going out and taking photographs and just taking off some of the burden that the dealers have to do. Because, people think that car dealers make a lot of money because they're selling expensive cars, but actually their margins are quite tight. So they've got to be careful with their money.
Okay.
And yes, it's with that backdrop of margins are quite tight. You've got to make all this investment and you've got to give it time. And we're 7 years in. I think we've done a fantastic job, but there's still another 10, 20 years of work to do. It never ends. Ends.
Definitely. I think, a lot of the conversations we've been having is around that, fourth industrial revolution, that continued digital transformation. It's the cat's out of the bag. It can't stop now. And it's going. But Craig, so did you work, was your experience mostly on the, branding automotive group side, or was it on the dealership? And how, some of your background.
Yeah, so my I've never worked for a car dealer.
Okay.
Never ever. And so my background was originally in the UK with Auto Trader.
Okay.
So Auto Trader, I think this is where I learned a lot of, I learned a lot of my skills around digital transformation. So when I joined Auto Trader back in 1996, before the internet really was invented, we were a magazine business. And so we had, and I launched in Ireland as well. I launched Auto Trader over in Ireland. And, we had 13 magazines around the country. We had printing presses. We had 4,500 staff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sizable.
It was a big operation. I had 1,000 staff working for me, which sounds unbelievable now.
Wow.
But we had to become a digital business, right? And we went through this phenomenal journey of going from a magazine business to a digital business. Now, a lot of traditional media businesses never made that transformation. And they didn't make it because they didn't really invest in their digital future. They tried to hold on to their printing past and add digital on. And we didn't do that. We said, look, digital's the future. We were very lucky. We had a very visionary chief exec, and we were backed by a very visionary private equity firm who just said, look, we're going full guns on this. We will be a digital business. And over a period of 5 years, we transformed the whole business. We doubled revenues. Staff headcount went from 4,500 to 800 staff in the 5 years. And we basically built ourselves as a digital business. And, we had this motto, which doesn't sound very nice, but it is the only way I think our chief exec could get cut through, was that if anyone's going to kill our baby, it's going to be us. And our baby was our magazine. And we weren't going to let Facebook or Yahoo or Google do it. We were going to do it. And we just set about doing that. And I think learning those skills, that's what I now do with our customers, and say, look, you're going to have to go on this journey, because if you don't, someone's going to take your share, someone's going to take your business, you're going to be left behind. And I think they're great skills to bring to business.
Fascinating. It's great to hear. Personally, it's great to hear of a media success story in digital. How did you do that? Did the revenue models change? And
massively.
And is that some of what you're doing now? I'm not massively familiar with the later years of Auto Trader, but did it become the place where not only are you reviewing cars and people are kind of seeing what's the latest news, but they're also researching what they're going to buy?
Yeah, I mean, as a magazine, it was a transactional, cash mainly business. So we would go out, collect cash from dealers, they would advertise, and that was basically it. It was very transactional. The business became a subscription business where dealers would subscribe on yearly contracts. There was no cash. We moved to direct debit and credit card payments. And then we realized then we were sitting on a ton of data. And then that's when you started to then see the business go from just being a used car classified site to an online marketplace. So it was about insurance, it was about finance, it was about residual values, it was about lifetime values of vehicles, it was about comparing new cars with used cars. It was, it basically gave you everything you needed in that platform. And I think, as a business, if you can get to the stage where you can own the customer and you can use your data to help the customer do things better, quicker, faster, easier, I think you're always gonna win. But I think that means you have to look at your business model very differently. If we'd have just said we want to be a classified site connecting buyers and sellers, we'd have stayed a classified site, and someone would have probably killed the business. So you have to think, differently when you become a digital business.
And how do you do some of those things? Recognizing that you've got a lot of data and knowing what to do with it. A, to go through it, but then B, to commercialize it. Do you kind of hinted that there was investment there, but do you kind of go, okay, we need to put 50 people on this and figure it out, and then try and hopefully in a time frame it returns?
I think just get one clever person to start off with rather than get 50.
Okay.
I think I mean, look, if you know that your business is reliant on data, which most digital businesses are, then you have to get someone in your business who knows data. Because the first problem you're going to have is ordering your data so you can do something meaningful with it. Because unless you're a brand new startup, you're going to be sitting in different data pots all over the place. You'll have customer data, you'll have transactional data, it'll all be, and they won't talk to each other, and it'll be horrible. So the first thing you need to do is get someone to come in and map all that and plug it all in together. And then you need someone who then can actually turn this data into intelligence so the business can do something with it. And look, that's not a team of, maybe if you're Google, you can have a team of 5,000. But I think for most businesses, it's one person to start off with who understands what they're doing. And then when you get to a stage when you start getting some intelligence, then you can understand if you want to scale it or not. You've got something then. Otherwise, you could have 50 people going, I've got an idea. It sounds amazing. We should do this. It's probably not a great idea.
So it is that sort of organic growth, sort of figure it out and then...
and also, what you think is valuable actually might not be valuable to your customer. So you might spend a year producing this most amazing, data suite, and then the customer goes, that's completely useless to me. So I think, it's about working with your customers to make sure actually what you're producing really does create value. And I think, the problem and the opportunity with data is it spits off lots of different things. So you could literally go down a rabbit hole very quickly. You could get very excited about something, go, hey, we've identified this. If we focus on this, and you do it, and then you take it to the customer and go, no, that's useless. Why have you just built that?
But it is something, like with Dubicars, with Auto Trader, if your clientele are the dealers, anything to help them increase their revenue. Data is an interesting subscription model, but how much of that was strategic in terms of traditionally brands would like the audience that Auto Trader and Dubicars have? So do you have different business models for revenue? Do you try and work with agencies? Do you try and kind of work with advertisers as well as dealers?
We do, but look, our business is about working with car dealers and making car dealers successful. So anything that disrupts that or takes attention away from that key mission, we're not really that interested in. Look, if an agency came with us with some money and wanted to do a campaign, we'd do it. But we're not overly focused on that. I think you've got a limited amount of attention from a consumer on your site, and we want them to engage with our customers. That's the main drive for us. Now, look, I think we're going to have huge opportunity with our data because we know things that no one else knows in terms of time to sell, price to sell, export versus local. There's a ton of stuff we know. And the data journey I spoke about is what we're now doing is about, well, how do we start using this data to help our sellers and buyers, but also to help us monetize the assets that we've got. So it won't be on-site revenue, it'll be off-site revenue through our data and insights.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Casey Fitzgerald.
And I'm Simran Gupta from Love in Dubai, your go-to source for everything local news.
Be sure to watch the Love in Dubai show for the latest on what's going on in this city and beyond, with exclusive interviews every single morning.
We go live every day at 8:30 a.m. sharp and 9:30 a.m. on weekends.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram and TikTok. Find us at Love in Dubai.
Well, Michael, you mentioned from Property Finder, was on this podcast a few months ago, and even though I knew Property Finder, I until he explained it, I didn't fully, the penny dropped in terms of the business model. That it isn't necessarily subscription; it's an advertising business model, but the clients are the real estate brokers. So it's similar. So if that's so clear to people, then why is it so hard to execute on?
What, in terms of from a competition perspective?
Well, in terms of industry. So, as you know, the classifieds, that historically newspapers would have had, the car listings and the property listings. And he tells a great story of that. At the start, he had a print magazine in Dubai, and he was showing the property pictures and the prices. And Gulf News felt that was a threat, and they tried to do the same. And then he went online, and they thought he'd gone away, But in the end, their business, which was classifieds for listings, went to Property Finder.
Yeah.
And is that what's happened? That sounds simple, but it's not actually that hard, easy to execute on.
I mean, I think you can unpack two questions there. I think, in terms of why did the initial traditional classified businesses not win, right? So why did they not win? And that was newspapers, right? So newspapers should have won in recruitment, they should have won in dating, they should have won in cars, they should have won in property, they should have won in all
Lots
those
of
areas.
Those verticals, yeah.
They should have won in all of them. They had the audience, they had the content. Why didn't they win? All right, I'm going to give a very broad, sweeping statement here, but it goes back to what I spoke about in terms of they just didn't see digital as their future, right? Because the people that were running those businesses were ignorant to what they thought. People aren't going to read content online. People aren't going to move online. This is a fad. I went to some of the big newspaper conferences, and this was literally the narrative they were spurting out. This is a fad. It's not going to last, and they're in denial. So and I think, they didn't even have photographs in their listings, right? So, I mean, it was just text. It was poor service, no data, no support for the customer. Expensive, and I think all those things meant that I think the digital businesses just could come in and take it from them, and I think that's what would have happened to Auto Trader if it hadn't have been aggressive and cannibalized its own business.
Wow.
Because someone would just said, these guys are lazy, huge margins, they're not taking it online, let's kill it.
It's a daunting thing to have to do, to kill your own business, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Well, as I say, I remember the conference. I remember the good old days when you had these fantastic leadership conferences, and you'd be flown to lovely parts of the world, and they're gone now. And I remember the chief exec saying those exact words. We're going to have to kill our own baby, and if you don't have the stomach for it, then I suggest you leave, because that's what we're going to do. Yeah. And I think he had to use something like that to get the cut through. So we all sat up and went, okay, this is serious now. This is serious.
Yeah, and it worked. And where are Auto Trader now? Have the private equity firm cashed out, or is it? Yeah,
it's they IPO'd and they're listed now, and they're I mean, I don't know what their valuation is now, but it's.
That's a great story.
Yeah, it's $6-7 billion business. So,
Oh wow, amazing. So the car market. Taking a sharp right, the car market in Dubai, Craig, what was your experience of it? Many people will have multiple touch points over the years. We know well-established dealerships. What's your experience of it, and what's the status quo?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I wanted to come here was the fact that I could see the opportunity. So without sounding rude again, it reminded me of being back in the UK kind of 10 years ago in terms of where the dealer was. And I don't think that's a negative for the dealer. I think it's a negative for the competition. The competition just hadn't helped the dealer move online, hadn't given the tools, hadn't given the data. So I could see that if someone came in and accelerated that, we were going to do quite well. So that excited me. The export market is very exciting and completely offline. So I could see the opportunity to move that into the digital space. And then speaking to the dealers, they were just desperate to work with a good quality partner. You know, there've been lots of online classified businesses who come in and, you know, gone within a month, gone within a year. There was the old competition that were here, that weren't doing much. So yeah, there was definitely the opportunity. The dealers didn't know what they needed, but they knew where they needed to get to. So I knew that if we provided the right solutions, we'd get there. So yeah, all those things added up to, yeah, I want to come because I know I can make an impact here, and I know if we build the right business around our customers, we're going to accelerate that. I think the big differences here compared to the markets I'm used to is, and it's changing, but is lack of competition. So, you know, in the UK where you'd have 200 dealers selling Toyota,
okay,
you've got one.
Yeah.
Here, official dealer. You know, and if that official dealer decides that's the way they're going to do it, that's the way they're going to do it, and there's no one. I mean, there's brokers that can compete with them, but they do own the brand in the marketplace. I think the lack of competition for the official dealers is something I'm getting used to.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, now we're seeing new entrants come into the market who are just opening big car showrooms, doing everything online, who are now competing, I think, you know, and bringing new models to the market. And I'm delighted to see that. I want to see more models come to the market.
Yeah.
It's good for a marketplace.
And Dubicars as well. Do you focus on other Emirates as well?
Yeah, look, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So we're UAE based, and we've got dealerships all the way across, and we deal with private sellers. So it's not just car dealers, private sellers on our site, and we deal with anyone that wants to sell a car right the way across the UAE. And now, because of our export markets, half our traffic comes from outside the UAE. So we get traffic from Africa, KSA, Oman, Europe, New Zealand, Sweden. I mean, literally, the export market is literally global. We are now getting sellers coming from outside the UAE who want to be on our platform. So we're getting dealers from KSA, from America, from Japan, placing stock on our site because they get that global reach, which is exciting.
Interesting. Can you just explain for the uninitiated the export market, because the UAE doesn't manufacture cars.
Yep.
So why is the export market so big, and who's the customer?
Yeah. So I mean, the reason it's so big is, if we take Africa on its own, right? Africa doesn't produce cars or manufacture cars. Okay, so they rely purely on importing cars, and they want to import good quality cars at a good price with limited amount of shipping costs. And the UAE is perfectly situated for the African market. So we've got a massive pull from Africa. The second thing is the cars that do come to the UAE, all are incredibly well spec'd. I mean, the spec here is just bonkers, right? So everything you could ever want in a car comes standard pretty much. If it's GCC spec, roads are amazing. Every car comes with a service plan, so the cars are well serviced. There's, you know, good legislation in terms of keeping your car registered and inspected. So if you buy from here, you know, you're buying with confidence. So this is a very attractive market globally because it gets those good quality cars at good pricing, and shipping is very well priced. So basically the GCC overorder to cater for the export market. So they do sit on more stock, knowing there are these export opportunities. And what we've done, which is really down to COVID, was originally we were just passing leads to dealers. Now consumers could no longer travel, and dealers still wanted to sell cars. So we just basically digitized the process, and we now manage the full transaction for the consumer.
As well,
Yeah, so we've now physically shipped cars to over 50 countries. If it's outside of Africa, it's door to door. So if you're in Germany, I'll literally get the car to your door. In Africa, we can't do that, but we can get it to the nearest port of your choice. And we'll manage the full process. We inspect the car, we do the transaction, we do the paperwork, we organize the shipping. We've got a great shipping panel. You do it all through one of our account managers, and it's delivered.
Okay, so it is to consumers as well directly?
Look, mostly it is consumers.
Okay.
So these are people that know the car they want, and previously they would have. So let's take Africa. It's a good example. In Africa, I'd go to a car dealer in Africa. He'd say, "Yeah, I can get that car for you." He'd then speak to a broker. Broker would then come to Dubai, kick a few tires, deal with a dealer, add a bit of a margin on. You know, blah, 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 blah. We've now made that completely transparent. So the African buyer contacts us. They see the car they want. We inspect it. We do the transaction. We organise the shipping. It gets sent to you. I mean, if it's KSA, within 24 hours. If it's Europe, it's in a week. If it's Africa, it's within 2 weeks, and it's delivered. And the customer saves, on average, 10 to 15%. The dealer makes more margin because he hasn't got the broker he's got to pay. Everyone wins, apart from the broker.
Yeah, okay. Right. I knew a few car dealers growing up in school, and my brother was in the industry. And whenever I heard of import and export, it was all to do with saving money. It was all to do with the tariffs of over the customs and things like that. Are the customs and tariffs favourable out of the UAE, or does that help as well?
Yeah, definitely. And there's actually a one part of Dubai which is set up for just the export market. It's called Dubicars, and those cars aren't subject to any tax. So they literally come in and they can't sell them into the local market, but they can sell them straight out again. So yeah,
so that's favourable. Yeah,
it's favourable. It's quick. It's very easy. I mean, Dubai is an export hub, right? So it's very good at getting product out.
What's the benefit to Dubai then? What's the cut if there's no?
Yeah, the benefit to Dubai in Dubicars is that they've obviously got dealers who are paying the municipality to be there.
Okay.
And they're taking product in and out. So yeah, I think that's where the big benefit comes from Dubai. Okay. And the Port Authority love them. Yeah, it works for them.
Interesting. Good to know. Thanks for explaining. So Greg, you're obviously someone who believes strongly in digital transformation. And when we talk about smart mobility and the automotive industry, there's so many topics, there's so many things. If you had to explain, I'll take the easy way out, rather than ask you a question on a particular topic, what are the kind of mega trends, or what's kind of on your horizon for the next 12 months or so?
Yeah, I mean, look, the mega trends. Well, the first mega trend is a short-term trend, which is lack of semiconductor chips in the market. Okay. So the industry is just I mean, this isn't just cars. There's anything that requires this particular chip that's made in Korea and China. They just can't get enough of them, right? Because the factories were closed. So even if you wanted a new car now, it's difficult to get one because they can't make them fast enough. So the first mega trend, which in our lifetime we've never seen, is car manufacturers just can't produce cars fast enough. So that's a mega trend, which is interesting, which is having an impact on used cars, a very good positive on used cars, because if you can't get a new car, you're going to buy a used car. So that's good. But I think the mega trends going forwards, and we're yet to see it here, but you're starting to see it in the UK, in America, and Europe, is obviously electric cars. That's the first big trend, right? And I'm sure here, I can see DWA now are pushing installations for electric cars and so on. We're going to start seeing more electric product come into the market, no doubt about it. And I think it will happen quite quickly. Okay. I think there's definitely people saying, no, this market loves its V8s. I think we're going to get to a stage where the mums are in the car park dropping their kids off and they go, oh, your car's quiet. Oh, it's an electric one. Oh, that's amazing. And I think that'll just trigger everything, I think. Yeah. So I think we'll see that happen quite quickly. So megatrends is definitely electric cars. I think, autonomous driving and vehicles, it's a trend. It's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime, personally. I think there's so much legislation and so much that needs to change. It will definitely happen at some stage, and it makes absolute sense, but it's not going to happen in my time. I think, cars becoming clever in terms of supporting you while you're driving, well, of course, and you can see that already. And some of the innovation in cars now, where they literally are driving, but you don't know they're driving for you, I think is going to continue. But to actually have a car driving itself, as soon as there's one crash, unfortunately, everything gets put back another 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So that's definitely going to be a trend. I don't think actually electric is the future for cars. I think, it's the thing to cling on to now because it's the right thing to do. But if you read anything about, what's required to make these cars, there's only so many natural minerals and products available to make these batteries. So unless they radically change batteries in the next 5-6 years, we're going to run out of all the elements required to make these cars. So, and that's why the Japanese are focused on hydro vehicles, water to support the car and drive the car rather than electric. So I think there's some interesting stuff going on there. So
So Elon Musk was right when he needs to do the batteries to power his Teslas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Elon Musk will jump on the next thing and drive that. But yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I think where he's been smart is to focus on the battery really and the technology that sits within it.
Okay, that's fascinating. Yeah, thanks for bringing up the microchip, because it's been one of the sort of business stories post-COVID, hasn't it, to do with supply chain and everything like that. But luckily, for you, it's actually one of the tailwinds that's helping the business.
Yeah, but that can only last so long. A used car was a new car once, so if we don't get those new cars in, the used car park is just going to shrink. So we need the new cars in at some stage.
Okay.
Hopefully by the end of the year.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And when you talked about the automated driving, so there's obviously a lot of investment and energy put into that space. But I saw recently that GM have partnered with one of the telcos in the US to have 5G in the car. So do you think what we'll be driving then will become more of a computer and more of a
Yeah, I think the car it's already going in that direction. Right? The car is going to be the connected vehicle, right? And the car is going to talk to other cars. It's going to talk to the dealership. It's going to talk to the manufacturer. It's going to talk to the police. It's going to it's going to be completely connected. I think there's going to be a big announcement coming out soon about one car manufacturer working with Apple. It hasn't been. There's been some rumours, but it's big enough. So I think definitely technology companies and car manufacturers are going to collide, because that's where they're going to butt heads, is over the technology that sits in that car. It's not the design of the car or anything else. It's the technology that sits within that car. So I think we're going to see more collaboration and more mergers between technology companies and car companies. And look, I think even with COVID, that's now got car manufacturers thinking about making cars offices. So actually, you could work from you could be on your drive, and you've got everything you need within your car, and it's your little office, and you can take that office wherever you want. And I think COVID's
WFC,
work from car or SUV, but So I think working from your car is going to become a big thing as well, because. Yeah, if you've got great connection in your car, if you've got all the screens in your car, if it's a beautiful seat and you've got space, well, why not work from your car?
Yeah, exactly. Fascinating. It's really interesting. I haven't heard that lens before, that a narrative around electric not being in the future, and that's interesting for this region as they diversify away from oil, but also obviously there's a runway to go there as well. Some of the other things that people in the automotive industry are innovating with are different types of business models. There's we've had Uber and Careem obviously disrupt that type of ride hailing, and then there's short-term rentals and things like that. Is any of that on scooters and different types of mobility? Is any of that on your horizon? Are you solely focused on the car dealership space?
No, look, we're a marketplace, right? So we want to connect buyers, sellers, renters, leasers. It doesn't matter. It's not just about selling the vehicle. I think the different models that you mentioned, you can see some of the companies now starting to invest in these different areas where you can hire a car for an hour, or ride share, or you can lease a car for a month and whatever. There's loads of different models. No one's really got to scale with that as yet. But yeah, I think what we're going to see is this complete fragmentation of the marketplace. I think the traditional buying selling model is not going to be the future. I think it's going to be a combination of things. I think there'll be buying, selling, hiring, leasing, rental, sharing, and we've got to accommodate for all of those things, and we've got to be able to compare. So when you come to make a decision, I can tell you the best thing to do based on your circumstance. What's going to be the most effective, most efficient, save you money, and then you can make an informed decision. You can say, okay, well, in that case, then I'll rent for a month, because that's the best thing to do at this point in time.
Yeah, so you can do that with that data. So to that point, what are you investing in on Dubicars? Are you working on payment gateways? Are you doing a lot more SEO? Like how much of your resources and team is focused on a digital product?
Yeah, I mean, SEO definitely. So I would say probably 40-50% of our tech time is focused on SEO, because that's key to the audience. And then the rest of our time then is split evenly between building out the tool set for the dealers. So we launched a SaaS platform for dealers. We were the first in the region to launch a SaaS platform for dealers to help them market cars and manage leads. It's been phenomenally successful, but the trouble is when you start a SaaS platform, you can't leave it because your customers want more and more and more. So we're investing in more tools into that platform. And then on the marketplace side, it's all about, as I said earlier, getting the customer to a stage where they can make an online decision. So our investment is in data. We're going to relaunch the look and feel of the site this next month, about bringing more tools into the journey. So you could make a decision if you wanted to. You could make that decision online, and that's what you'll see more from us.
So Craig, been here for 3 years, and leading Dubicars. What is the competition in the market, and how have you found it?
Yeah, I mean, no one competes directly with us because, as I said earlier, I mean, we're focused on the vertical of cars, we're focused on the export market, and we're focused on supporting dealers with SaaS platforms and whatever else. So no one's directly competing. But of course, there are marketplaces out here. And it's funny, I never thought I'd ask this, but I wish our competition was better.
Oh.
Yeah, because, transforming a marketplace to become a digital marketplace is difficult. And I think if the competition were professional in the way they acted, that would just support everybody. It would help car dealers get online faster. It would give consumers a better experience. It would help the overall market. But unfortunately, our competition seemed to want to spend more time focused on us and telling customers information about us, which is not true, rather than actually focusing on their own business and innovating. And I think that lack of professionalism just gets customers to have less trust in what we're doing as an industry. And I think, as an industry, we've got to pull together to all work together to help dealers sell cars, to help consumers sell cars, and to help consumers buy cars. And if we all did that, I think the market would be a much better place.
Why do you think that is? Why are they focused on competition rather than their own product?
Yeah, I think you'd have to ask them that. But I think it's because we're now at a stage where we are seen as the go-to platform for car dealers. So, if the competition are trying to negotiate price, if the competition are trying to sell some new stuff in, the car dealer has a choice now. And I think because they've got a choice and they're voting with their feet, the competition are struggling to get past that, and they're focusing on trying to play us down rather than play themselves up. And that's just not good for anybody.
It's not healthy. It's
not healthy. And it's, as I say, car dealers need to trust this space. And if the competition are doing stuff like that, it just doesn't help anybody build trust.
And it doesn't help the dealers as well, who, like you explained earlier, they have a legacy of successful business model, and they need to have that trusted partner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think, if the competition are listening, I beg you, please take this seriously and work with us to raise the standards rather than work against us to pull the standards down.
It's refreshing to hear. You're not shaming them. You're saying, let's do this together and let's make the industry healthier overall.
Yeah, because look, there's so many opportunities for all of us to be successful in this marketplace. Let's compete on the right areas, not on the wrong areas. Yeah.
And you've been part of, as you told us, a successful sort of digital growth story with AutoTrader, and Michael from Property Finder has had success in raising funds. Is that a path that Dubicars will go down as well?
Yeah, in fact, we're just about to start the fund now. I think, we wanted to see how we got on with our export safe solution, which is the online transactions for export buyers. And it's flying. The business is up 140%, 150% year on year at the moment. So we know now what to do to send a car to anywhere in the world.
Amazing.
And with the right funds, we could build a click and ship model, which would be amazing for the customer. So we know where we're going. Just need a bit more money to do it.
To invest in that. Fascinating. So interesting to think of Dubai like that. There was a guest from a construction company, and they're doing portable houses, what a better word for that, but they're doing prefab houses for the UK from Dubai.
Oh, right, okay.
So they're flat packing them from Jebel Ali, and the rationale, so Dubai is becoming more and more, not just export, but manufacturing as well. Saudi have invested in Lucid cars. There was some articles that maybe they would manufacture them in the kingdom. Egypt, I think, have different sort of stories going on there as well. As an emerging market, and you've been here a few years, what's your outlook of that? Are you optimistic about the Middle East, that it will, an emerging market that will emerge, and will we see other things within your industry typical of sort of more advanced markets?
Yeah, look, I'm very optimistic. I think firstly, I think the UAE just did a phenomenal job through COVID. Not just about managing COVID, but also transforming itself and making it easier to work here, easier to stay here, easier to do business here. I mean, you know, they had a lot of things to deal with, and they managed to drive through an agenda of change. So I think that set them up brilliantly, I think, for the future. So yeah, look, I think what I see here is, because Dubai is a great export destination, because it has access to good labour at good prices, I think, you know, the opportunities here now to manufacture, produce, export means that, you know, yeah, I think the future is very bright for this part of the world. And I think, you know, it used COVID unintentionally, but did it brilliantly as a platform to demonstrate that this is a good place to do business. And I think I'm very positive. So I think we're seeing it in the car market. We're seeing it in the property market.
Yeah.
As you say, we're seeing it in different parts of manufacturing. I think the future looks bright.
Amazing. Good note to finish on. But you're here for the long haul. Your kids are in school here. You
They
love
are.
the UAE. You're happy.
Yeah. Well, we went back to the UK over summer. We managed to get into the UK via Iceland. Long story, but that was the only way we could quarantine. Iceland was amazing. But yeah, I think, you know, we were in the UK. It was lovely to see friends and family. But yeah, I was very happy to come back. I think there's an air of optimism and positivity here, which the rest of the world is not seeing at the moment, and I think that gives us a good head start.
Great. Well, thanks for your time this morning, Craig. Thanks for this journey, and we'll follow you and Dubicars as you continue to grow.
Perfect. Thank you.
So that was episode 135 of Dubai Works. It's part of the Smashy streaming platform. You can download the Smashy app on iOS and Android, or log in on smashy.tv. 7 days free trial. You can watch all our other shows there, or any of the previous episodes. Later this week, we're going to sit down for episode number 136 with Tayal Baya from Baizat, which is HR and employee management software. So a good success story from Dubai, again in the startup space. We'll also be at the Arab Social Media Forum on Wednesday, where Hala and the team will be interviewing all the different presenters from that as well. If you happen to be there, you can register on the Arab Social Media Forum website for a ticket, and you can meet us there. So lastly, just do the duties of thanking our producers, Ali Baba and Shahir Al-Kindi. Thank you so much, guys, and look forward to speaking to you all on Thursday.